Are you somebody who finds it hard to concentrate, finds it difficult to focus on tasks which seem unpleasant or boring, or somebody who drifts off in conversation with somebody else, finding yourself thinking about something completely different and not focusing on the person right in front of you? Are you somebody who identifies with the ADHD label, or are you feeling burnt out and stressed on a regular basis? If this is you, then stay tuned into this video because we will be going over the causes of why this state of being arises and what we can do about it to help ourselves get out of it. Welcome back to my channel, in which we speak about self-mastery and how we can live the best life from the inside out. And this video is about scattered energy. What we can do about scattered energy. What does it mean? Because when we have scattered energy, it is hard to focus on a single task, because we are so used to splitting our energy in multiple directions. We can be so used to doing one thing and also doing another thing at the same time. When we have scattered energy, it is hard to focus on a single task. And our normal state is to try and focus on multiple tasks at once. And this arises through childhood patterning. So if you, for example, had a parent who constantly spoke over you, this can be a reason why you are used to trying to focus on more than one thing at once, because you may be in a flow of what you want to share. And then if that person spoke over you, that would have cut your flow. And then while you're actually still trying to focus on what you wanted to share, you're now having to focus your attention and energy onto what they want to communicate with you. We can change this state of being as an adult. This is part of the sovereign journey, right? We can now reclaim our energy. We can help ourselves to not be scattered anymore. And a way that it manifests itself in our adult life, this kind of pattern that would have been created in childhood, is that we will be doing multiple things at the same time. So, for example, you might be doing the washing up while listening to a super interesting podcast. And by doing that, you are doing the washing up, you are focusing your energy on doing something manual and physical, but you are also projecting your energy in what is being shared in that podcast. It can look like, whilst doing work, trying to do multiple tasks at once. You might be focusing on one email that you're writing to somebody, and then another email comes in and you're quickly looking at that email. The way that you use your phone. You could be writing to somebody and then another text comes in and you're already reading what that other person is saying while you're still trying to formulate and answer the first person. And social media is also a huge way that we can scatter our energy, because when we are in a place like Instagram, for example, we are in a space of infinite portals of connection to so many different people. And so when we enter that space, we are automatically projecting a little bit of our energy into all these different portals. And so that is also a place that can just scatter our energy straight away. And even just looking at screens themselves scatters our energy, because the way that screens work is they are actually flashing at us, which we don't consciously perceive, but that is still having an effect on our brain. And so when we look at screens, that kind of flashing also creates disharmony and distorted energy in our brain, which can scatter our energy. Another way that we also may experience scattered energy is by not having strong enough boundaries around other people. And so when we connect with others, we very often merge with them in that moment. And that's beautiful for in that moment, because we want to exchange energy, we want to share, we want to become one with the other. However, if we then do not have a practice to come back to ourselves afterwards, to call back our energy into ourselves after we have been with them, then that's not serving us, because we are still allowing a portion of our energy to leak into the connection with them, and that is also scattering our energy. A dysregulated nervous system can also cause us to scatter our energy or to stay in a perpetual state of scattered energy. Because when we don't feel safe, when our nervous system is dysregulated, when we are feeling stress, we do not feel like we are safe to be slow about things and do things one thing at a time. We feel like we have to rush through it, we feel like there's not enough time, and that also perpetuates and keeps that feedback loop going of, I'm stressed, so I need to do it in this way. I need to do lots of things at once. I need to do it quickly. You might not even finish one task before you're trying to start another task already. And then that also gives your body the feeling that you aren't safe to simply focus on one thing at a time in a slow manner, which is what would calm the nervous system. So then it kind of creates this feedback loop of stress and scattered energy. So there are multiple different things that we can stop doing and that we can do for ourselves to help us not be in this perpetual state of scattered energy. So one powerful way of being that we can embody throughout our lives is to tap into slowness, to come back to the present moment, which is all that we ever have. The present moment is all that there will ever be and that there is. And when we come to the present moment, we are also coming back to source. We are coming back to love, to joy. And so when we tap into slowness and we say to ourselves, okay, there is no rush. I have an infinite amount of time. And you may not be feeling that. The mind might be saying, no, I don't have an infinite amount of time. I only have this amount of time to do all of these things. How am I going to do that? It's about not listening to those stories, because those stories stem from a dysregulated nervous system. It is about letting go of those stories and trusting, because when we do things in a rush, we are also more likely to make mistakes, and that will, in the long run, actually not help us to be able to complete a task properly or to have more time available for ourselves, time and energy. And so we say to ourselves, okay, from the beginning of the day today, I am going to be conscious, slow, considerate about everything that I do, and I'm going to do one thing at a time. That creates harmony within the system, that creates a sense of safety, that creates a completely new way of being where instead of feeling like the only way that I can achieve what I want to achieve is by doing lots of things at once or being in a stressed state and doing things quickly, it is cultivating a feeling of, I have more than enough time. I can do this in a way that nourishes me, where I do not need to give my body the sense that I do not have enough time, that I need to be stressed to be able to complete whatever I want to do. And doing one thing at a time also helps you to stay in a state of coherence and focus. Because when we are focusing our whole energy onto one task, we are able to dedicate 100% of our consciousness to that, which means that we can do it fully, we can do it properly, and we can do it in a way where we know that we've done our best and where we know that we've actually done it. Because think about those times where we go unconscious and then we don't even know if we've done something or not. Then we have to double check if we've done it. And that also scatters energy. That also takes up unnecessary energy. So it is about staying focused, and through cultivating that way of being focused, we can show up in that way throughout our day in our different environments, with our different tasks. And also it will help us when we are connecting with people to be fully present with them, to be fully connected, to be able to listen to them properly. and not feel like our mind is drifting to some unfinished task or some unfinished business. When we cultivate this mindset, we understand that there is a time and a place for everything. And right now, this segment of my life is about this. I'm going to do this task, and then I'm going to complete that task, and then that will be over. And now it's time to do this. And that can just create so much more harmony in our lives, because we come into completion with the things that we are doing. So then we aren't using unnecessary bandwidth to still think about something that hasn't been completed. And there will be times as well where we cannot complete something. However, we got to the furthest point that we could with it in that moment. And then we get to say to ourselves, okay, this is as far as I can go right now. And now I am complete. And the next time I come back to this task, I can start putting energy into it again. However, in between, I do not need to think about this. I do not need to keep problem solving or whatever it might be for that. I can trust that I do not need to have any of my awareness pouring into this when I'm not actually with it, when I'm not actually engaging with it. So the way that we can embody this on a very practical level, and the way that I do it for myself, is from the moment that I wake up, I do one thing at a time. And that will look like getting out of bed without trying to grab something else. If I need a drink of water, drinking some water first, then getting out of bed, opening the curtain, not trying to put some clothes on while opening the curtain, or when I have a shower, coming out of the shower, toweling myself off, not trying to open the window at the same time, but toweling myself off and then opening the window, simply doing one thing at a time. And that allows me to stay in my flow throughout the rest of the day, and for me to be really present and mindful with everything that I do. And it helps me feel safe and coherent within my system. I feel calm, I feel at ease, I feel at peace, because I'm not scattering my energy. I'm not choosing to feel like I have to do multiple things at once. I am choosing to know that I can do one thing at a time, and this will actually, in the long run, be so much more beneficial for me in so many different levels, including time. I will have enough time to do everything if I do it one thing at a time, and it will help me to stay sane and feel better throughout the whole day. And so this is a practice. That is one way of embodying that. Another thing that I do is I do not look at screens for the first few hours of the day. So that also is allowing me to stay centered and to not scatter my energy just from the screen, as I mentioned earlier. Then also being mindful of when to connect with other people. I don't usually connect with other people until I feel ready to do so. So all those messages, all those unanswered messages and things like that, they can wait. They can wait until I feel like I am now in a state of being where I want to connect, I want to socialize, I want to do that. Maybe I've already done my work for the day. So connecting with other people and stepping into those portals of connection won't have an impact on me. Also, very, very important energetic hygiene technique for when we do connect with others and we go on socials and things like that is to afterwards reclaim our energy and cut the cord. So when we have connected with others, when we're not with them anymore, when we're not talking with them anymore, that can look like simply saying to ourselves, I reclaim my energy. And if you're sensitive to energy, you can feel it coming back into yourself. And then you can imagine that person walking away in sovereignty, or you can imagine a cord between you being cut with some golden scissors, or there are so many different ways, but just sensing into the fact that you are now two separate humans again. And that doesn't only have to be with people, that can also be with anything that we put energy into, a project, a place. It can be done with anything that we have connected strongly with, and then once we're not connecting with it anymore, to allow ourselves to be fully disconnected again and sovereign and have all our energy back, coming back into ourselves. And we can also do this kind of energetic hygiene every time before we go to bed. So as part of our kind of winding down routine in the evening, if we feel like we've been in contact with lots of people or places, or maybe we've been in public or something like that, then we can take a little moment for ourselves and say, I reclaim all my energy back to me from all timelines, dimensions, spaces now. And that can just help us land back into ourselves. And often that will also be enough when I start feeling a little scattered, and I notice myself feeling a little scattered. Doing that practice, whenever it may occur, is so powerful for me to feel my whole energy back within myself and feel like a sovereign being. So there are things we can do to help ourselves navigate this incredible and crazy world where there are so many things battling for our attention. And as so many people say, energy is the only thing that we really have. Our attention, our focus, our awareness, our energy is what we truly own, that is ours. And we get to empower ourselves to choose in what kind of energetic state we want to be. And we can choose where we want to turn that attention towards. And the more that we cultivate this sense of focused energy rather than scattered energy, the more we realize also what we are actually focusing on. And do I actually want that to be my focus? Because when we're so used to scattering our energy, it's almost like our energy is not so of value to us, even though it might be. But if we're so used to scattering all over the place, we're less conscious of where we are directing it. And so it may be that we are also more likely to direct it into areas, places, and people that we do not actually want to have in our life, that are actually ways of being, thinking, or ways of feeling that we can actually do even better than that. And so having more practices like this for ourselves, and practicing in a way also better boundaries. Having better boundaries means that we are also more conscious of where we start and where we end, and how we are directing our energy. If we are just fully open, scattered, just we're fully available to everyone at any point of time, that burns us out. That means that we're not honoring our energy and ourselves as a being. And so that is kind of the opposite of having good boundaries and being able to give back to ourselves. So this really is about loving ourselves so much that we are willing to become aware of how are we doing things. Am I doing it in a way that's not beneficial to me? Am I trying to do lots of things at once all the time? Can I start practicing doing one thing at a time? How does that feel for me? Does that feel good? And where am I focusing my attention? Am I focusing it towards people who do not serve me? Okay, maybe I don't need to hang out with them anymore. And things like this. So it's this whole way of being that is being birthed and being embodied. And once you get this nailed, it is so nourishing. It is so nourishing to feel like your consciousness can be fully present in what you are doing now, over and over. That is the ultimate way of being, and you can practice that, you can cultivate that, and you can embody that for yourself. You can start right now. So I hope you found this video inspiring, and if you liked it, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I'm super excited to see you in the next video.